Welcome back to Season 5 of Comic Book Nation, the only show that does it all for geek culture. I am your host, Kofi Outlaw, and with me in CB Studios here in sunny Nashville is Mr. Connor Casey.
What is up, guys? Apologies for the delays. We're getting hit with technical difficulties left and right.
Yes, we are. Yeah, it's been a day already, and it continues to be one. Calling in from his new satellite office in his bold new home, because he left us, but we're not upset about it at all, is Mr. Matthew Aguilar, my co-host of ComicBook Nation.
What's up, everybody?
And from her home studio, just because she's comfortable, Janelle Wheeler's with us, too. And she's
you're muted,
muted. Yeah, you missed your big entrance there.
Gosh, Matt.
And more technical difficulties. Hi, everyone.
There we go.
Matt leaves and everything just goes to
Yeah,
madness.
Matt left and it's falling apart around here. So, as we pick up today, we have some breaking news events that are going on as we were going through our countdown to go live here. Yeah. We got some breaking news. First of all, number one is Twitter continues to suck. I just got hit with a nearly $100 request to use TweetDeck, or XDeck, or whatever you want to call it, or X Pro or X Premium. And, we keep this like PG-13, so I can't give my usual Kofi Outlaw response. You guys have to listen to my underground podcast X about that kind of stuff. But breaking news, Twitter is also going to be taking away the block feature because Elon thinks that's a good idea. Quick commentary. That's not
Block?
a good idea because,
What is block?
Will no longer be able to block other users.
Oh, blocking. Oh my gosh. What?
Yep.
Yeah, that fits. Yeah, that's
So there you go.
That dude is full of great ideas. I am very happy I've already started migrating over to other places.
So,
I do not use this very often.
No,
it will not change.
Note, we do not have an official Instagram, Comic Book Nation Instagram page or Threads page, but I encourage you all to seek out Jim Viscardi and start asking him for both because we need to get those. This ship has a lot of holes in it, and even the rats are jumping off, and I like to be the first off the ship, not the last. I'm not you're not going to Jack and Rose me, you know what I mean? I'm not going to be doing that Jack Rose
so
stuff.
much. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that is so not safe.
No, it's not. So that's one breaking news item. And it gets even better with Connor Casey's breaking news item on the wrestling front.
Yeah, I got some bad news, unfortunately. The Orlando Sentinel is reporting that Cash Wheeler, one half of the AEW World Tag Team Champions, was arrested this morning on one count of aggravated assault down in Florida. And a lot of details on this one are still pending. AEW has released a statement. AEW has been made aware of the charges, and we are closely monitoring the situation. Wheeler is fully cooperating with local authorities. So
let's not use the last name only.
Person named Wheeler, Janelle, where does this fall in your family tree? How is this person related to you?
I would say like seventh cousin removed.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, this is bad news in a week of bad news for AEW. This isn't great because he was one of the four men involved in what is arguably one of the biggest matches at AEW's biggest show ever, All In at Wembley Stadium. They just crossed 80,000 tickets sold for this thing.
Wow.
And, now suddenly your semi-main is very much in jeopardy. So we will keep you posted on all of this.
Wow. So, good start to our show today. Welcome to Comic Book Nation if you're a newbie. This happens from time to time. We try to hop on here and then things go sideways. But on a more positive note in our regular show, Janelle Wheeler has some at least good news for us. So why don't you hit us with that after this dark little dip we just took?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Well, first of all, I appreciate you guys for knowing that anything Barbie related just gets to be in my wheelhouse. It makes me so happy. So thank you for seeing me. So it turns out that Barbie is crushing it. We already knew this. Barbie is doing very, very well. And we are kind of on pins and needles to see if it is going to be the top grossing film of 2023. Right now, it is in second to the Super Mario Brothers movie, which I think is very well deserved. I love both of these films so much. So I honestly don't mind like either one of them being the top grossing. But it is now the top grossing woman directed film, which is really awesome too. And I'm living for this. I'm loving it. And I need to check Slack. Okay, lovely. I think that personally speaking, I feel like Barbie is going to do this, but we will find out after this weekend because Blue Beetle's coming out. And even the movie Strays. So there's going to be a lot of competition. We're going to see how it actually pans out, but this could be the highest grossing film of 2023. And I think that would be absolutely spectacular. What do you guys think about this?
I mean, it's already put up some pretty big milestones, like crushing the Dark Knight's domestic run and being like, I think this makes it Warner Brothers' highest grossing domestic film, right? Like,
yeah, it is. Yes.
You know, move over Batman. Who knew Barbie would take down Batman, right? But good job, girls. I mean, let's be honest. A lot of you ladies out here, Barbie parties making this a cultural touchstone and people going back and seeing it multiple times because of how the movie challenges them. And I mean, this is just good vibes all around. I think it's good for just girls. I think it's good for Greta Gerwig. And it's very good for Margot Robbie, who has, you know, up until now pulled the 3-card Monty trick of like becoming this major starlet, working with like every major director, even getting lots of awards nominations, but never really cracking the box office necessarily.
Yeah.
Except I think Wolf of Wall Street is still like really up there, but on her own, like never really kind of crushing the box office. And now just, I mean, this is it for her. Like this is the proof of Margot Robbie doing any and everything. Mm-hmm. Like she can do the Oscar stuff. She can be an awesome bit player. She can be a starlet who carries things. She's a great character actor. You know, she's just good for her. I mean, I hate, you know, it's been a long struggle for beautiful blonde Australian women to get on top and win very well, but here we are. No, I'm just kidding. Margot Robbie, from everything I've seen and every time I've ever even been in proximity of talking to her, is a great person. So nothing bad to say about her whatsoever. And like I said, this is just good vibes all around. And there's still pink parties happening. I went to see Blue Beetle last night. There were still, I mean, they're getting fewer and far between, but there are still pink parties happening. And I'm just glad to see women as a whole experience the kind of cultural phenomenon that I, as a black man, got to experience when we had Black Panther, because that was such a good time. And it was such an important kind of proof of what movies can do culturally that I'm just glad to see like another group kind of feeling that right now. So no hate from here. I'm all good vibes. All right.
Is this the part where I bring it down and mention that Hollywood is taking the wrong message?
Oh, no, that's just, that's standard. Like, yeah, I mean, Hollywood's going to learn all the wrong
That's
things.
what's killing me about this is like, for all the success this has, their answer is Hot Wheels movie. What's the one that the chick from Girls is doing? Polly Pocket or something?
Yeah.
It's like the reason this thing is working isn't just because the production looks amazing, the director is fantastic, it's a star-studded cast, but it's a movie that has something to say. And it's self-aware, and it's brilliant, and that's what we want. Not, hey, this toy makes me think of this other toy that I used to play with.
It's also...
but I actually want a Hot Wheels movie.
No, I do.
Go watch Fast and Furious. That's the Hot Wheels
I shoot down
you
that
guys-
theory immediately because
I feel like I'm going to betray you guys on this Hot Wheels thing. I do want more Mattel movies, but I also think, ladies, I'm sorry, you're going to probably be in for a string of things that like Hollywood thinks are good ideas for the next Barbie party, but it's going to be really terrible because I can tell you from, again, cultural experience, that's what's going to happen. So strap in for that. But for right now, everything feels good, right? So, you know, moment to moment. Let's just, let's take it moment to moment. Connor, you have something else to talk about on the news front before we get into kind of our Blue Beetle review?
Indeed, I do. In much lighter news, some people, including some folks here at ComicBook.com, have gotten their hands on the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka, the new Disney Plus series in the Star Wars universe. The reaction to this one seems to be a bit all over the place. I'll read some of the quotes just from folks that work here in the office. From Jamie Jirac, she enjoyed the first 2 episodes, but it's easy to understand how this might not be for folks who haven't seen Rebels, which was my big concern. J.K. Schmidt says it's not perfect, but it looks a lot better than some of the previous Star Wars shows. And my boy Liam Crowley, my 6'6" son, he thought this was boring. So, yeah, been all over the place with this one. And Kofi, I want to get your thoughts on this because you did the Lord's work this week. You put out this massive graphic that explains everything you need to see to actually understand the show.
Yeah, listen, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm still a little bit in DGAIF No.
Dilly-gaff.
Yeah, Dilly-gaff mode from last week with the whole Wonder Woman 3 thing. But I'm definitely in that mode about this. I'm not going to speak too much about Ahsoka because I'm going to want to punch a lot of people, because we're going to hit this point with this show where the first thing that's going to happen is there's going to be a whole sector of people, and this has been bothering me about Star Wars. If you listen to this show or any other shows I do, you know that this is tearing me apart inside, is the kind of selective fandom of Star Wars right now where people are like, okay, I'm going to watch this major show. What? I got to know something from an animated show. Get out of here. And this is going to be this conversation for the next couple of weeks, or months, rather. I want to watch this Ahsoka. I don't want to watch this animated show. Well, too bad. This is where we're at now. Animation is coming into live action, and guys, I'm sorry, but there was a whole lot of people who love the canon of those animated shows, who know those moments and they're as important to us as any of the crap in the Star Wars movies has been in at least the last 10 years. Animation was carrying it through those times, and yeah, this is for us. This is for the people who invested in the animated stuff, because as I put together that guide, Ahsoka Tano is a character she's the Broly of Star Wars for all my anime fans. She was never really in the mainstream canonized big things of the franchise, the movies, but she's this fan favorite character who has endured for so long now as an icon, and just this character who has been a favorite of these secondary mediums, books, comics, animated series, things like that, that she's just as present and popular in the series as any of the major characters. But this is the point where those two things inevitably have to collide. She's been in the side that a lot of people don't want to go into, but this is her moment to get the spotlight. So there's no way for anybody to get the spotlight moment without having to encounter or deal with the massive amount of stuff that happened in these side areas. And so I put together a guide, and I made my guide specifically for people who just want the quickest, easiest way. Tales of the Jedi is doing a lot for you guys because it does a lot of great sketch work with these short story forms that say a lot about the characters, but you're going to have to encounter, because there are things in this that can get so trippy as a mainstream Star Wars show, including a realm that is between time and space.
The world between worlds. I can't wait for the discourse on that one.
That can Star Wars time travel is a thing that could come up in this. There's a whole lot of Mandalorian stuff tie-in with Sabine Wren, who's said to be a main character in this show. So I even threw stuff in the guide here, watch this Mandalore stuff about her. It'll even make you understand the Mandalorian a little bit better. But there is no way around this. And so this discourse is going to be supremely annoying, because there are just people who are not going to understand this no matter how many times or how clearly we all say it. But this show is for the Rebels fans, the Clone Wars fans, the people who invested in that. That's who this is for. If you don't want to deal with that, because I feel the same people who are going to complain about that are going to be the same people who complain that Andor is not Star Wars enough or something like that. It's if you don't like this, there's that over there. You can go see Andor and not see anything and just watch Andor. You don't even need to know about lightsabers or Jedi or all the muckety-muck about all the mythology. If you want to stay familiar, go watch Obi-Wan, you know what I mean? Or just stick to the Mandalorian.
Or skip Obi-Wan, because it wasn't good.
I'm just saying, if you want a familiar thing with a character you know, or go watch Solo, for God's sakes, and get some appreciation for that. But yeah, this is going to be what it is.
I'm still hung up on the Broly thing, because Ahsoka was never anything as bad as Bio Broly.
That's no, but I just mean Broly was so iconic in Dragon Ball before he finally 3-4 years ago, they finally were okay, let's make him an actual part of the canonized series. And it's that was a long time coming. People had a lot of complaints about that too. So the show is what it is, and it sounds I love these events because part of this is coming out of a fan event, quote unquote, that was held, and I was ranting on this. I'm not going like some of those other guys who got famous for Star Wars event rants and stuff like that, but I'm just saying, yes, there's always a varying degree of Star Wars fandom in the people who go to these what are supposedly fan events, screenings, and things like that. So you're going to see these different reactions, but I think the bottom line, I think we can all make it simple, is this show is for the people who watch the animated stuff, and you're going to have a much harder time with it if you didn't. Luckily, comicbook.com Star Wars has a handy-dandy guide made by yours truly that can help you out in this area. The end.
I don't. Is there anything else we need to add? I think we're good. I think this is the
yeah. I mean that's pretty much it
all, man.
Yeah. All right. So moving right along to our main event. So program note: if you are just getting into Comic Book Nation, you got to go and subscribe to our YouTube page, YouTube Comic Book all one word -Nation, and subscribe to our feeds wherever socials you find them on, because we drop a lot of bonus material these days, and today is no different. After this, I will be sitting down with Matthew Aguilar, and we will be talking about Blue Beetle in full spoilers. So even if you guys are on the fence about Blue Beetle, be sure to stick around and check out that full spoilers discussion. For now, on the main show, as usual, we're just going to give you our spoiler-free review of the film. I actually did the review for comicbook.com for Blue Beetle, which was a surprise to me this morning. But I did it, and I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars, which I think is a very fair review of Blue Beetle. Basically, I just said that this movie, weirdly enough, this movie kind of nails the challenge of being possibly the only DC film in decades to be, like, uncomplicated by continuity, solidly entertaining in both action and drama, and fun. Like, just legitimately fun. And it nails all three of those things. And you realize after it's like, wow, that is actually a feat for a DC movie. Because no matter how much I like them, and I like the Snyderverse, we all know that, they don't all nail all three of those quadrants, right? Like Batman, Superman,
fun
love it.
Is not the word I would use to describe any of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Not fun. Like lighthearted, like you could take your little teenager, preteen, whatever to see this movie. I might even take like my 5 or 6 year old, for the exception of a few parts. They watch Marvel movies. They can handle this. Mm-hmm. That said, it is kind of more of that 2000s formulaic Marvel superhero origin movie kind of feel to it. But the difference is with Blue Beetle, and this is a big thing that matters, is the cultural aspect of it. What changes this is Angel Manuel Soto and this cast actually infuse this character in this film with a lot of cultural subtext that actually makes it have heart and like a thematic and emotional core to it. There are parts in this movie that are really kind of heavy or resonant and like emotional, and like that's the difference. So it is a 2000s kind of formulaic superhero origin story, but the cultural aspect of it makes it different, makes it distinct, and makes it have heart. So that's the combination. Now, that said, Soto is still finding his way, so there are parts of this that definitely feel like this was an HBO Max project at one point in the way that it's filmed, but overall, the effort they put into making the set pieces and spectacle and all of that work for a lot of it. It's just some of the kind of smaller moments in filming and things can get a little hokey sometimes. But I thought it was like good, solidly enjoyable superhero origin tale, and I want to see more Blue Beetle. And I said this right up in the review, like this cast, this version of the character, this actor, Zolo, deserves to be in the DCU, like easily.
Okay.
Like without fail. And I don't think, I don't think this is a spoiler, but I don't think there's anything in this movie that disqualifies. I think they reworked this movie, so there's nothing that is said or done in this movie that is not easily spinnable into that new franchise. Matt, that's my whole spiel, but we really care what you think about this.
No, I think you nailed it. I actually think 3.5 to 4 was kind of where I landed too. Like it just kind of, I was gonna kind of let it settle a bit, but like that's kind of right in that wheelhouse, and that it was ridiculously fun. I laughed throughout the whole thing. There's great moments, like comedic beats that they do really well. But like I said going into the movie, like the biggest thing to capture in this was the family, and I adore them. Like the cast, like the way they made this family, they're involved from the very first bit to the last. Like the family is actually present throughout the entire movie. And it's not like they just get magically sidelined for a big act or something. Like they are involved in some way. And like very
Ironic,
much
it's like the other way around in the second act. I feel like the main character gets sidelined. It's more about the family.
Yeah, it's more about them. And I love that because I cared what this is probably the most I've enjoyed George Lopez in a while, like since like early stand up George Lopez show style. Like it's Rudy is hilarious. Like his character is like Uncle Rudy is fantastic. But like the entire family, like it's Nana is amazing throughout the entire thing. There's this whole kind of running bit with her about how she's so sweet and adorable, and then like things twist towards the end. And I don't know, all I saw was my abuelita, right? When I look at her, like there's so many things that there's a lot of Latin touchstones throughout this entire movie. And while a few are, concepts we've seen before when you've watched films or TV about Spanish families, a lot of them are very accurate and a lot of them are very like they still resonate. I mean, I lost my mind when at one point, it's not really a spoiler, but at one point they're like trying to wake him up and you see that it's like a cup of Vicks, and I like lost my mind because like essentially like Vicks is a fix-all and like every Spanish family for everything. It doesn't matter. So Scarabs, it can take care of everything, right? So like there's all these little things that I just adored, and the family really makes it. Jolo is fantastic. He deserves to be in the new DCU, whatever they're calling it. But I hope the rest of the family is also present because that's what the comics do so well. That's why that's why Jaime resonates with people. It's because family is very important in our culture. Like it is. It's just a omnipresent thing. And so it's to see it reflected on screen, to see them have fun with things. I love that some parts, there's a lot of Spanglish in this, obviously, but like some parts, there's actually there's no captions. Like it's just very natural. It's very flowing, and like if you know, you know. And I love that it just felt like an authentic movie made by people who live it. And so it was super fun. I gotta say, the bug sequence, amazing. My like jaw was like on the floor with that whole sequence, and parts of it are in the trailers. So it's not a spoiler, but like it goes on for a while, and it's awesome to see. Like if you're a Blue Beetle fan too, like even just the Ted Kord stuff and like some of that stuff that like really with the character and the overall lineage of Blue Beetle, I think you're gonna have a lot of fun. Kofi's right though. There's some like 2000s feeling to certain sequences, and like oh hey, that could have used a little bit more money. Hey, that could have used a little bit more time. Hey, that was shallow, weird. So there's things like that, and it doesn't recreate the wheel as far as like origin stories. But I thought it was really effectively done. And the Kord side of the family too. I wasn't like so taken with Susan Sarandon's Victoria Kord.
Oh, I loved her. Oh, she was.
See, I love certain aspects, which we'll get into in the spoilers. But I like certain aspects of her story and backstory. But like as a villain, I was just kind of meh. It's fine.
No,
it's not bad. It's just
we'll talk. We're getting finer points. We'll talk in spoilers. But I love her. Karen
that's the antagonist. What I will say though is that what they do with Carapax actually surprised me in a very pleasant way. So I thought while they didn't nail some things, they would nail others and it would make up for it. So yeah, 3.54 is right on the money. I think it's supremely fun and you should go see it.
All right. So that's our review of Blue Beetle. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have a lot of good stuff to get into. We're going to hop around because we are the show that does it all for geek culture, so we're going to talk a little bit about what's going on your TV screen. Matt is psyched by one big announcement that fits into his agenda, and we got some wild new comics to talk. So stay tuned to Comic Book Nation for all of that. Welcome back to Comic Book Nation, the only show that does it all for geek culture. Hopefully you enjoyed that awesome Blue Beetle advertisement during our little break in the show right now, because I was looking at it, I was like, ooh, it makes me want to go see it again. But if you just missed the first half of our show, we had some dark breaking news about Twitter and AEW wrestling. Then we had some happy news about Barbie's box office, some mixed things about Ahsoka first reactions after screenings that have been held, and we talked about Blue Beetle being pleasantly nice and surprising. So, we've been all over the place already in the first half of the show. Let's see what happens in the second half. So, I just want to take a minute to promote the Film Realist. I did a other podcast spot that made me realize we didn't talk at all about Star Trek Strange New World Season 2 on this show. Sorry, Paramount, who pays our checks. But I just wanted to take a minute and just say, if you have not jumped into Strange New Worlds, you now have 2 seasons worth of reasoning to do so. I thought this was one of the stronger seasons of Star Trek, pretty much overall, that I've seen. 10 episodes, there were so many standout episodes, and each of them was just like so good and engrossing that I actually didn't. The season went so fast that I didn't even know it was over to even think about recapping it. But this season was, if there is a sophomore slump, this show was nowhere near it. There were so many great episodes and concepts that were both classic in their design of Star Trek and modern in what they were willing to take on as subject matter. And they made bold choices on how to do it. The second episode of the season is just a courtroom drama about, Rebecca Romijn's #1 and why she deserves to be in Star Trek. But it's a whole thing about inclusion and xenophobia that can be kind of related to any organization that we've had, all the modern conversation about who can participate in what, or what disqualifies you from this, and what about this, that, and they get into all that, and it's very profound. One of my favorites was a crossover with Lower Decks that brought Jack Quaid's character from Lower Decks, who's a comedic character on an irreverent show, but came into Strange New Worlds, and because he was from the future, he was able to move around and kind of emotionally push all the characters around in these really profound ways by what he was trying and failing not to say about them, or like what he knew about their kind of larger destinies and all that. There was a musical episode, which I don't like musical episodes, but this one,
Do you hate fun?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do. It makes me feel pain, which I do not enjoy. But I do enjoy pain, which makes me feel fun. I got things crossed a long time ago at a birthday party in the 90s, but we'll talk about that later. So, there was also a really profound episode where one character went to an alternate timeline, fell in love with Captain Kirk, only to have him die, only to have to come back to her timeline and then pretend like she doesn't know Captain Kirk, because in the real timeline she doesn't really know him. And so for the rest of the season, but what it did was have episodes that highlighted each member of the cast every week, or a couple members of the cast, and then beautifully kind of weave those happenings and those profound stories into the rest of the season, so that even when cast members were in the background of other episodes, you felt the kind of drama of what you knew they were feeling, or how they were changed, or when this new situation that they're maybe not featured in, you still knew things were cooking in the background. And it's, like I said, in that sense, it's one of the best seasons of Star Trek I've ever seen in terms of highlighting everybody, but still keeping this larger running thing about the crew and what's going on. I'm just so mad that it ended on a cliffhanger in this really exciting episode, and now we have no idea when, because Star Trek people are going hard on the picket line. If you have not been paying attention, Star Trek writers and actors are going hard on the picket line. So I don't even know where we're going to get the end of this cliffhanger, but yeah, man, Strange New Worlds was just, it was great. And yeah, one of my favorite episodes, which is all about a Klingon war criminal who tries to become a peace ambassador, and what that does to people who were in the Klingon war and are struggling with PTSD and all these kind of secrets from the war. It's pretty nuts. So that's on Paramount Plus, Strange New Worlds Season 2. It's right up there with Spec Ops Lioness is 2 great things you should be watching on Paramount Plus, and that's my little TV rec for the day. But who had Harley Quinn Season 4 check-in?
I didn't add it, but I've been watching it.
Who did that? Is that just like a phantom?
No, Janelle has
Janelle
been keeping up with it.
Yeah. I mean, Matt, have you been watching it?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, okay, good. So it's not just me alone.
No,
I
Connor,
kind of touched
yeah, we did a
on
thing
this.
on the segment on the show. That's why I was so confused. I was like, is this deja vu?
Yeah, I did kind of touch on this show and how great it is a couple weeks ago. I think it was just Kofi and I. So I kind of did like a love letter
I've been talking to everybody.
this season. But I will say that if you haven't checked this out, now is definitely the time. There's a little bit of a cliffhanger going on right now. You're going to see different sides of characters and kind of what they're doing. There's been a big death. And obviously like the Joker is kind of back in the forefront, which I'm really excited about. And yeah, it's just, they're doing such a great job with the show. I always worry that seasons are going to get worse progressively. And this just seems to be getting better and better. Matt, what are you thinking about all of it?
No, agree. And I feel like, it's very much like this is an easy show with everything else that's coming out. It's like an easy show to overlook, and it's just one of those that they just keep knocking it out of the park. And I feel like even that occurred last season, where there was just so much other stuff going on, and like we barely talked about it. So
I forgot it was on. I really did. I completely forgot, so I had to binge it. Yeah,
but like the stuff they've been doing with Joker, I think is really interesting. I just think like I just want to give this props because it's just so good at fleshing out. Like this is very much a one-of-a-kind world within DC's whole universe, and I adore it. I think they take chances, and I just want people to watch because I want season 5, and I want the season to finish, of course. But like I want season 5.
Ooh,
I want this to go on to like.
I think this is okay. I think it's doing okay. I don't think we have to worry about that.
Very good.
Also, a little shout out to Good Omens.
Ooh.
It is so good on Prime. I just finished it. I binged it in like 3 days. I love David Tennant so much. And this show is just, I feel like it's so underrated as well. It's just so fun. And they even made a Doctor Who reference with David Tennant, and I was just giddy. I was so excited. So anyways, that is also a great show.
I'm going to follow trying to throw a better recommendation on top of that, which is Solar Opposites. Help Solar Opposites get Dan Stevens in the driver's seat. Strangely enough, it does adjust on you after you listen to a couple episodes, but Solar Opposites is back. Dan Stevens is replacing Justin Roiland. And it's jarring at first, but he makes fun of you for being jarred about it. And 3 episodes in, you won't remember Justin Roiland anyway. You'll be all right. And the Wall Saga is one of the wildest things I think I've ever... I can't wait for somebody just to make a super cut of the entire, just like the Wall Saga segments of that show, because I was trying to explain to my wife, and she looked at me like I was nuts. But I was like, you don't understand, because she saw me watching the end of one. She was like, what is happening? I was like, okay, so there's like a show within this show, but the Wall Saga is so nuts in just how long they've progressed that story. So Solar Opposites back. Check that out and help them get Dan Stevens in the driver's seat. Talking about things that are back, Matt.
Woohoo! Cosmic Fury, Power Rangers Cosmic Fury is coming. We knew it was coming later this year. Obviously, this is the 30th anniversary of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but now we have a date. And we also have some other big news. So it'll be actually releasing on Netflix, just like the previous seasons of Dino Fury, on September 29th. Which, right now it's a bummer, obviously, because like they would probably have done like a big rollout with the actors and stuff, and because of the strike, that can't happen. But we still got a lot of information, because on top of a new theme, which you can check out on our Comic Book Nation YouTube page, there is the big reveal that Billy, which... who actually, if you've been watching us, we've been talking about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Once and Always, which was the 30th anniversary special. And, a big thing of that was like some of the original cast returning. And obviously, Billy coming back for that, David Yost, was a big deal. Well, he's coming back for this season, which will be what many think is kind of the last season of this era of the show before it gets rebooted and everything, and all the stuff they've been working on over at E1 and now Hasbro's like TV side. But this will actually have Yost coming in as a mentor to the Cosmic Fury team. So we got like first look images. It's going to be 10 episodes. He's going to be a major figure in this. One thing that was revealed, though, is that Simon Bennett, the executive producer, showrunner of Dino Fury and Cosmic Fury, did confirm that like this idea was actually thought of before Once and Always kind of ended up bringing back Yost and things like that and all those connections. So while they both have David Yost in them and while they both feature Billy, they're actually separate. So like they're not connected. So don't expect like there's going to be some Easter eggs, but don't expect those storylines to coexist with each other. This is like a separate thing, still same character, but a separate thing. So very excited for this. Not too long. I mean, only, a month and a half to wait. And this is really, since Mighty Morphin, this is the first time we've had the same Power Rangers team returning for 3 seasons. So it's a big deal. It's kind of unparalleled. There's a lot of original footage that's going to be in Cosmic Fury, which has caused an uproar in the Power Rangers community at times. But this is cool. I'm super stoked. So lots of great news. I'm happy. We'll soon be able to talk Power Rangers again and it might be a minute before I get to talk about it after that. so yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited.
You didn't hear my all-important question.
What was it?
Can we call him Uncle Billy?
Yeah, we call him Uncle Billy.
All right, that's all I needed to know. All right, well, Matt, don't rest your face flaps yet because you're talking about the next thing we're doing here.
Wow, I've never heard myself referred to as face flaps. So just a quick note, because we are talking about Blue Beetle, if you have the DC Universe Infinite app, there's actually a bunch of free Blue Beetle comics you can check out to coincide with the release of the movie. And there's actually some really good ones in here. Blue Beetle #1 from 2006. The New 52 Blue Beetle from 2011. DC Rebirth Blue Beetle 2016. And one of my favorites, Blue Beetle Graduation Day from 2022. Also the 2006 Blue Beetle #15, which features Jaime's team up with Superman. So why not check those out? Some of them are really good. There's actually one in there that I haven't read, so I can't say on that one. But a lot of the ones, especially Graduation Day, fantastic. Can't go wrong. And then moving into comics this week, I knew I would have to apologize to Janelle because it was a lot of X-Men. it was, and I'm sorry. And it was kind of.
Is it good X-Men?
Well, so let's start with the one that I think is, and I think Uncanny Avengers #1, because Jerry Duggan from Marauders is heading this one up. I loved the concept before because it's obviously just an Avengers and X-Men team mashed together and it forms this, right? So I like the concept. This heavily features Psylocke and Monet St. Croix, 2 of my favorite X-Men characters. So I really dug it from that perspective. It really is a building the team issue. It's Captain America kind of building this out. You're seeing a lot of the fallout after the massacre at the Hellfire Gala. And so all of that is setting in. You're getting an idea of like the Stark Sentinel. So it's a lot of world building type stuff and picking that up. But essentially, it's a building the team issue, and I like the characters involved in this, so I had fun with it. But I can totally see how someone who's like not a big Psylocke fan, or like is someone who's like just not really like particularly loving these particular group of characters, I can see how that would not, go over. What did you guys think?
I think it's an interesting repository of characters that Marvel often has time figuring out what to do stuff with. I mean, there's dialogue in this book that's like about Deadpool. It's like Captain America being like, I literally mishandled this guy. I got to try to do something else with him. And it's the kind of meta. But yeah, because Monet, St. Croix, they're people, Quicksilver. These are people that people love, but they often just have trouble finding like good storylines for. Whereas Deadpool like can overpower so many things, and it's hard to like stick him in on a team without him overpowering things. But I thought this was interesting, and I think it's interesting for Captain America most of all to see Captain America try to be this like ambassador to this oppressed group of people and help them out in this dire time and stay on that side of his personal views and stuff, and working with a group of people he knows are just like kind of murderous misfits in a way, like is really interesting. And so that was really the heart of the book for me. It was just seeing like, how does Steve Rogers like wrangle a Deadpool, a Penance, a Quanon, or Psylocke, or whatever we're calling her,
Rasputin, baby?
Yeah, and like all of that, and how does he deal in the X-Men's world? It's much more, because this is much more of an X-Men heavy kind of version of this team than what we've seen in the concept in the past, where it's like really like more Avengers with like a couple X-Men, but not really getting into like the themes of oppression versus like sanctioned superheroes as heavily. This is a kind of different take on it, and I'm interested. So it got me interested, and it's offbeat like Marauders. It has this weird kind of offbeat nature to it that makes it unique.
So, Janelle,
Yeah.
what did you think?
I like Captain America. I will say I'm still struggling to remember what is going on, because the Hellfire Gala, it's like I faintly remember everything, but I didn't realize how important it was that I remember all the events unfolding for all of these other things that are happening. So I wasn't maybe focusing as much as I should, or maybe it just wasn't clicking. It's fine, but I truly feel like both of these books are for big fans of all of these characters. Like, I don't feel like you can just be a Captain America fan and read this and feel satisfied. I feel like you have to be a mutant fan. You have to know the X-Men. You have to have context and background, and maybe even more than me, because apparently I have a lot. I'm just going to say right now, I talked to BD. We went and had a coffee the other day, Brandon Davis, who does the Marvel podcast over here with Phase Zero. And he was very confused when I started talking about Krakoa. I talked about different planets. I was talking about how they can come back from the dead. And he was very confused. As a matter of fact, he said that I'm an expert now with X-Men. And I laughed in his face because I'm clearly not at all. So I'm just trying to imagine someone like him trying to get into this. And it's a little confusing.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like Ahsoka again. It's like Fall of X This is the end of a major storyline that started in 2019. It's nearly inaccessible if you have not kept up with, like, and even if you have, there is a lot happening in a lot of different places. So
yeah, we were there every step of the way, and there have been times I've been like, wait, what?
Yeah, no,
like I got to go back and reread that. I don't know. Or say, before I move, Connor, did you read either of these?
I have not. This week am 72 issues into an Invincible run. So I could be ready for season 2, and so that's been my week.
That's good work. That's the Lord's work.
So ironically, I thought the first one was going to be the more new reader friendly one. So if that wasn't it, then Dark X-Men #1 was certainly not going to be it. However, this is a Hallmark time, ladies and gentlemen. This is a Hallmark issue. This is an issue everyone needs to pay attention to. Why? Because it has Maggot. Maggot's in this book.
Yeah, he's back, baby. I had to message Matt on the side.
Sent me a message in Slack and was like celebrating that. I was like, oh my god, yes, Maggot is back and he's in this book, and therefore it is great.
They hid it from us on the covers too.
Yes, no one knew he was going to be in it. He's an Easter egg surprise.
Yep.
It's amazing.
I read this and I don't know who that is.
So Maggot is the one. Well, he actually introduces himself and says his name. It's Maggot, Janelle.
I'm so confused.
He's a guy with the slugs on his shoulder that rescues the girl. He has a blue face. Don't worry about it.
I struggled through this one.
Don't worry about that. There's a lot about this one that's inside baseball, so it's all good.
Oh my god. So yeah, he is he's one of my favorite mutants. He is a F-list, G-list character, and that's okay.
Let's call him obscure.
But this is a very eclectic team. This is also one that it heavily delves into the Goblin Queen and things. So if you're not super well versed in that, it was a little bit of a I kind of felt bad after that. I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have put this one on here, because it's kind of deep end of the pool, and some of these character pools are very obscure. I mean, they don't get used a lot, which is part of the appeal of this kind of book. And then there's a new character in the middle of it too. But I know Janelle didn't love it. Kofi, what did you think of this?
Can I just say I preferred this one?
Did you? I thought it was the other way around.
Well, there was a robot Wolverine, and then there's this very sexy redhead. So whatever this costume is, I'm living for it. This outfit with the tattered, she's hanging out in some Egyptian cotton and burns it off and is in this awesome outfit, just strutting. The art alone got me for this one. I liked it.
Interesting.
Anybody want to explain Madeline Pryor's origin?
Albert, by the way.
Yeah.
Albert. Oh yeah, Albert.
Yeah, you want to
Because-
explain Madeline Pryor's origin as the Goblin Queen to Janelle? Have her explain it. It's right up there with Cable.
What was I'm like, I don't
right
know
up
what
there
it
with
is,
Cable.
but it seems cool. Like,
Yeah, she's Jean Grey's clone, kind of. Anyway,
oh my God, what?
yeah, it's a whole other thing. That's why she's like all connected to Jean Grey when Jean Grey dies. It's a whole other thing.
Okay, that's cool though.
And she's
This is
technically
explaining Cable all
Cable's
over
real
again.
mom. Yeah, she's technically Cable's real mom. That's why she was talking about like, you know, babies and losing stuff. Like, yeah, she's Cable's mom and Jean Grey's clone, and
The X-Men are weird.
yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff in this.
I love them.
But she went full Hell Queen, and like, yeah, it was a whole thing. Anyway, now she's screwing Cyclops' brother, which is a whole, like, there's a lot. The X-Men get real
That's
dirty.
who that is. Okay. Okay.
So, yeah.
So, what did you think of this issue, Kofi?
I thought that it was kind of boring. I like the concept, but it was just kind of boring. I had seen the preview pages. I had kind of like done it, and I thought there was gonna be like some big reveal where she's like, "I kept this thing a secret." And it's like some knockoff Predator version of Professor X's Cerebro helmet, but it was just a setup issue, and it was just like a lot of dialogue. And I think it's just one of those cases where when you call something like when you say to me "Dark X-Men," I'm coming to that book with like all kinds of exciting expectations of what I'm gonna find, and this wasn't that. It was just. I'm still trying to figure out what the dark part is. It's just kind of like oddball X-Men group together.
Yeah.
Like nobody's done. If I'm thinking like, does anybody? I feel like the other team killed more people more brutally. Like,
Oh my God. That surprised me actually.
Yeah.
I love that they addressed that, by the way. Psylocke like straight up murdered people.
yeah, like, her and Pennis were just murdering people, and Deadpool's Deadpool, and it's just like I feel that team is darker than this one. So I hope they get into it with the darker stuff. I was not thrilled by the cliffhanger. I was like, oh God, because if we're already sitting here joking about how ridiculous and convoluted Madeline Pryor's like whole story is, that cliffhanger is even going to make things just either they have found a way to make it infinitely better, or it's about to get infinitely worse. Because spoiler alert, there's an actual demonic looking Goblin Queen claiming to be the real Goblin Queen.
Yeah.
So this already person who's not a real person is now not even a real Goblin Queen either.
Oh my God.
So
They're
it's
a
kind of
Trace
weird.
Buster. That's what they are. Because it's the clone of a clone.
Yeah, so
It's a big hit reference right there for everybody.
Yeah, it's getting to be a little wild. So I hope this book comes into focus quickly about like what's the dark about it, like what is specifically this group of X-Men doing, because everybody just seems to be like replacing the X-Men, which is such like a vague concept. Like I don't know. So two okay starts to these books, but I would just I hope they crystallize like what is unique about all of each of them rather quickly.
I agree. No, I agree.
Although
and then real quick to
I just want to say Uncanny
the Rex.
Avengers had the worst. I mean, that ending of Uncanny Avengers I had to write up with what happens to Captain America is pretty gruesome. Like, yeah.
Well, we can say it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he fights which is still my favorite mystery running right now, is who's in the Captain Krakoa suit, who's been impersonating him to kill U.S. officials and frame mutants, but he fights Captain America hand in hand, and Captain America begins to realize to his horror that whoever's wearing this suit was already superpowered before he put on the suit, which is meant to enhance like a non-powered person. And the dude just grabs Captain America's shield while it's just still like slung around his arm and just twists it around the last panels. Captain America's arm just like breaking into splinters because he gets the shield like twisted around while it's still strapped to his arm. And it's probably one of the most gruesome things I've ever seen happen to Captain America. So that was pretty intense.
And it sucks too, because like throughout the entire issue, the Shield is doing awesome stuff. I forget who the artist is on the book, but they actually do an amazing job.
Oh yeah,
of, like showing Cap in action, and I'm like, crap! Now he's gonna have a cast. He's not gonna be able to use it for a minute. Real quick on the Rex. So Something is Killing the Children, number 32, is one of like my favorite issues in the series of the year. It's fantastic. They continually find ways to surprise me, and it's all backstory stuff. There's present stuff too, but like there's a lot of really great information in this one. And Erica Slaughter, like I cannot wait to see this brought to TV. I am so excited for that. I hope that happens. The Cold, number 1, which is Kelly Thompson's new series, kicked off its big run with number 1, and then we are big fans of Wonder Girl on Comic Book Nation, and Wonder Girl Homecoming collection collects literally all the one shots and her entire series, and then the like epilogue shots all in one volume. You can literally get the entire Yar Floor mini saga in one thing. You should do it.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
that.
Go get it. That's comics.
All right, and I believe that does it for our regular show. As I said, we will be doing a whole spoiler-filled discussion of Blue Beetle as a bonus round. Me and Matthew Aguilar are going to reconvene here in a few minutes and knock that out. So be sure to also be on the lookout for that on your podcast platforms and on our YouTube page. If you are just now getting into Comic Book Nation, as I said at the start, subscribe on YouTube /comicbook, all one word, -nation, or subscribe to the @comicbook Twitch page where we always do our live shows. And go and download us on Apple Podcasts and subscribe on your favorite podcast platforms as well. If you want to follow us individually while we're still slumming around X, you can find me at Kofi Outlaw.
You can find me at Connor Casey CB.
You can find me at Matt Aguilar CB.
And you can find me at Janelle Wheeler.
And we want to thank you guys, as always, for riding with us. It's been a really transformative year of the podcast. I don't think we say that enough. Yeah, this show has been taking on a lot more listeners, a lot more downloads, which means a lot of you have been breaking the first 2 rules of Comic Book Nation. You do not talk about Comic Book Nation. But
what's the second rule, Kofi?
You do not talk about Comic Book Nation. Third rule, if it is your first time on Comic Book Nation, you must have subscribe. To fight. Oh, that's better. I like yours better. All right, but in all seriousness, thank you guys for riding with us. We love doing this, and we love talking about all things geek culture, and we appreciate all of our fans. You know who you are. We'll shout you out some other time. Time is getting long. I got to get out of here. This is Comic Book Nation. Peace.
Later.